Hi, Dr. Bolt here. We're going to talk a little bit today about storyboarding. Hopefully, before you watch this, you should be looking at the storyboarding Pixar video, which tells you a lot more about the background story. We're going to talk about it a little bit different here in the Pixar video. It was looking at this from the point of view of film. Here we'll be looking at it from the point of view of a business. But a storyboard is an early form of prototype in a business prototype. Provides a high-level view of the thoughts and ideas arranged in a sequence of drawings, sketches, or illustrations, often with words to go along with them. And the reason we want to do storyboarding is it's engaging for the audience, it's simple, but really for us, it's effective in communicating positions because, as I say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You can put stuff more in context. It's relatively inexpensive and it elicits questions from participants. One of the things we want you to do with your storyboarding is after you have it, when you go to run some of your experiments, you actually might use your storyboards as part of your experiments to help validate your models. So in the basic storyboarding for a business, we're really talking about things where you try and get into what's the problem your customer's experiencing. And so this is your way of communicating back to them if you're showing the storyboard to a customer, that you understand what the problem is and getting feedback whether you got that correct or not. You can be asking questions like, what job do they need to get done and how is that job done today? What are you offering as a better solution to the problem? And how will your customers benefit from your product or service offering? Maybe how they will pay. Those are all part of how you generate your revenue and part of your business model. When we get to the business model pyramid, you'll see all those elements. So that's a basic business story, is trying to hit one or more, or maybe all of those elements. And I want to go a little beyond what was in the book because I want to talk a little bit about what makes a good story. So it's not enough to have a storyboard that just hits these business pieces, because if the story is not engaging, which is, again, one of the reasons we want it, it's not going to actually get what you want out of communicating your position and getting customers in. So if we go back to the basic definition of what is the 8 essential elements of every good story or every good narrative, if you go back to the process of good storytelling, you have to make sure that somewhere in there you have a main character. Your character does not have to be the customer. In fact, the main character might be the customer's problem or the job they need done. And the character has some traits that make them interesting. So somewhere in your story, you're getting to some of those traits. Your character, what does your character need to do? The goal. What is the goal? Why is that goal important? What's the motive for the character to get through that goal? Generally, in good stories, there's some sort of conflict or problem that blocks the character. So that might be why the job isn't getting done, or the difficulties of getting the job done, or why the customer is just frustrated with the way things are. There can be some risks and dangers, right? Maybe if the customer doesn't get this job done, the company might not make money, or they might lose their job, or there could be physical risks and danger. But you want to create a sense of urgency, which is beyond the basic motives, and that's where you get risk and dangers come in. And so the character then has to struggle to reach the goal. And then eventually, hopefully, they get to reach the goal. And in addition to all that, the 8th element, which isn't always there, is really the sensory details that try and make the story seem real. And again, when you're doing a storyboard, that's easier than doing it with just words, because you can actually draw some stuff that isn't said, but it implies stuff when you see it. So if we look at these 8 elements, you can actually get a pretty good story in a single sentence, where the main character needed something because there's some reason, but something gets in their way, so they do something and have some flourish to overcome their risk and danger, and finally things get resolved. Now, that's a standard storytelling bare bones element, but I also like to put this next to the sort of value, Geoff Moore's value positioning statement, which is for blank, the target customer, who statement of need, our product name is in some category that provides a statement of benefit. And you'll actually notice that many of these literally line up. A good value positioning statement, or a value statement, is a kind of essential good story if you have all those elements in there. So now let's talk about your storyboarding assignment. In this week's storyboarding assignment, it's actually got multiple elements. Make sure you read through the discussion board carefully, because your team gets points, but you have to hit all the elements of what's in there. But at the top level, first as a team, you're going to discuss the storyboarding video that was assigned in terms of the 8 story elements. So you're going to look at the Pixar stuff and also think about the story elements. Go back and look at that and make sure you understand what those story elements are, and talk about, in general, storyboarding. Then you're going to develop and draw at least a storyboard for your venture, at least one storyboard. It should include all 8 elements of a good story. So it may not fit in the simple storyboard thing, but it should get all of these 8 elements in there someplace. And again, you're going to be able to talk to this, so you don't have to have all the words on the screen as you're just sort of putting the pictures together. As I said, your customer doesn't have to be the main character, but they have to be in the story someplace. There's some things relating the storyboard and to the value propositions. So taking your final storyboard, you're going to refine at least 2 different variations of your current venture's value proposition. If you haven't defined one yet, this will be a chance for you to go ahead and define them. And in the online discussion, there's a little bit more details. You're going to upload your storyboard in the refined VP, and you're also going to present them in your weekly video. We're not, in this assignment, we're not all grading on artwork. If it is, simple sketches on a piece of paper, that's perfectly fine. But it's also pretty easy to make some pretty nice small storyboards using the free version of storyboardthat.com. You can make, I think, a 6 or 8 element storyboard for free for a single user account. So you can sort of agree on what it's going to be, and then each of you can go try the free version and make up different parts of the story and put them together, or you can just all work together. And you don't have to use this tool at all. You can just use Post-it notes, which is actually often a good way of making the story work. You put them together on Post-it notes and then rearrange stuff to tell the final story. Either way, there's more details of the assignment, but I want you to get going. This is due on Friday, so don't delay. Start working on your storyboard.